Welcome in to another new podcast from the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. My name is Ben Dubose, and I'm the news editor with the AMP Publications team, where I create content for both Coatings for Magazine and Materials Performance Magazine. Both are member magazines of AMP. Today, we're going to be talking about the upcoming Maritime Coatings Contractor Forum, which is being held next week out in Virginia Beach. To do that, I'm joined by a distinguished panel. I'm happy to welcome back Jennifer Merck, who, as you know, is Vice President of Maritime and Defense at AMP. And we've also got a couple more sponsors and prominent industry leaders who are doing great work to help support this inaugural event. It likely goes without saying, but we wouldn't be able to put on an event like this without support from our sponsors. So we've been having them on the podcast partially as a thank you, but also to pick their brains about what's going on out in the field, since these are all some very influential and knowledgeable people within the maritime coatings industry. For our regular podcast listeners, you probably remember that we had one of these podcasts last week with a few of our distinguished attendees, and this will basically be part 2 of that conversation, but featuring a new wave of sponsors. Jennifer, before we introduce our panel, I want to start with you. Now that we're only a few days away from the event and the agenda is mostly set, what are you most excited for? Just give our listeners a bit of an event primer here off the top, and then we'll get into introductions for the panel.
I wish I could have a whole hour to myself because I have a lot of news I'd like to convey. But I just want to echo your sentiments earlier that we could not be doing this without the sponsors, the speakers. All of them were invited speakers. This wasn't a call for abstracts. We personally invited these individuals to be on all the panels and present. And I guess I want to thank them for their time, their expertise, and their willingness to be here for this industry event. One of the things I want to focus on is the NAVC panel, the Navy panel, just to convey that we have the Carrier Planning Activity Group there, Surf Map, Corrosion Control, the Commander Naval Surface Force Atlantic, and Nav Air Force Atlantic. So to be able to bring together all of these individuals into one place is just incredibly valuable for our contractors and the suppliers and the other demographics that are going to be at the event. Also, it goes without saying, just honored to have the keynote speakers, to have Admiral Hack. I don't want to mess up his whole last name, so I'll go with the shortened version of it. Retired Admiral Mark Whitney, Paul Chang from the CPO, Corrosion Policy Oversight Office, and Matt Evans from the Maritime Industrial Build, and then also Alan Thomas, our CEO. So just excited to have them all there. And then also, I guess the final thing I kind of want to plug is the association panel meeting. To have the local associations at the event means so much. To have Virginia Ship Repair Association, the Hampton Roads Alliance, and the American Society of Naval Engineers is just going to really round out the conversations that will happen at the event. And then finally, a plug for our chapter, and Courtney's here representing that. A big shout out to our AMP Mid-Atlantic chapter for being a sponsor of the event. This is where we want to do partnering with our chapters and to raise our voice in these regional areas where maritime, the Maritime Prosperity Zone. So excited to have everyone there.
And then as far as our panelists, I think it'll be easier if I allow them to introduce themselves. And Courtney, we can start with you. Just tell our audience a little bit about yourself, who it is that you're working with, and what you do on a daily basis.
That's a fun question. I am the chapter chair for the AMP Mid-Atlantic chapter, which encompasses pretty much all of the state of Virginia, encompasses our major shipyards, and work with our community. So working with Newport News Shipyard, which is America's largest shipyard, with the Hampton Roads Alliance, the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, and then AMP, and then and NAVC, and ensuring that, hey, what we're creating and building in the future, we know the supply and demand is necessary. We see the numbers. We've grown the welding programs across America's maritime industrial base. Well, we got to code it and protect it, because that's the most important part. Is the welds are great, but if we don't protect it, the welds are going to fail. So let's not forget the most expensive line item of maintaining our ships and subs. So the last 2 years has just been awesome, especially the synergy coming up behind this event of AMP and the Maritime and Hampton Roads, because so much is right there with our naval base, our shipyards, and it's just awesome to be coming in. And then at the America 250. So that's what I do pretty much all day, every day, is encompassing all those organizations of small businesses as a consultant and as the chair of working with businesses and helping them navigate, how do I get to Newport News? How do I get to small businesses and get support from the government or the workforce, or what are the trainings necessary, and how do I develop my company to be a part of the maritime industrial base?
And Matt, the same question to you. Just tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your company, and what it is that you do.
All right. Oh, I appreciate Ben and Jen for inviting us to be on this and just being a part of it. So I'm Matt Dowden. I've been with Abdec for about a year now. Just retired after 22 years active duty Air Force. I've served in multiple roles fighting corrosion. I was the fabrication superintendent for Air Force Special Operations Command. That's where I retired out of. Did 4 years there, and then before that I was the Air Force corrosion manager in the corrosion prevention and control office. So as far as a lot of these conferences and getting a lot of the stakeholders in the same building and being able to kind of solve some of these problems, I mean that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's kind of where I found my footing. That's what I enjoy. That's what I'm passionate about. And, joining the Abdec team allows me to do a lot of the same roles that I was doing when I was in the corrosion manager. It's talking to the maintainers with the boots on the ground. My favorite question to ask those guys is, "Hey, what's eating your lunch?" And just listening to them. And when you get a lot of great intel just from that simple question, because a lot of people want to talk high level everything, but you're not getting the true, what is eating their lunch, and you're not getting the actual problems until you're talking to the folks that had getting their hands dirty. And then, just taking part in this forum, I mean, it's just about staying connected to the people that are living these problems every single day. And we're here because corrosion continues to be a major readiness issue, and maritime community deserve partners who are willing to roll up their sleeves and figure out what actually works. So not just what looks good on paper. So Abdec does its best work when we're close to the end users, and just hearing directly from all the maintainers and program offices and shipyard teams, that helps us build solutions that save labor hours and increase ship communication performance and reduce rework and ultimately keep the platforms mission ready. And that's why being here matters to us.
To that point, what's unique about this forum? Clearly, you two have gone the extra mile, not just from the perspective of attending, but also taking on something of a leadership role. We appreciate your sponsorships and your support. What's unique about this particular forum when we get out to Virginia Beach in a few days? Matt, we can start with you on that.
Well, kind of jump the gun on that a little bit, but it's just staying connected to everyone that's involved. Because like I mentioned before, when you're dealing with the different levels, the decision makers, the folks that are tackling the problems, it's a great place to put all of the people in the same room, and you're able to help solve those problems from top to bottom, kind of cradle to grave. When you've got all those folks in the same room and you're able to and it's great when you have a lot of people that are proactive. And I feel like the people that are going to join this forum and are going to be coming to these types of events, they are proactive. They're not just sitting on their laurels and just waiting for things to come up. And they're just the day old age of corrosion is not a problem until it is a problem. And then we're going to attack it then. This is a group of people that we all have the similar mindset where we're trying to get in front of the problem as much as possible. And I have a line that I used when I was in the corrosion office. I said, corrosion, and I'll give you a quick backstory. How we came up with it was we were looking at FOD posters, foreign object and debris posters. And we were like, you know what? You could take FOD out and put corrosion in, and it works on all the FOD posters. And it was a FOD poster that said FOD prevention is better than the cure. And we just changed it to corrosion prevention is better than the cure. And that's just, I feel like we got a group of folks that are in the same mindset, that trying to focus on prevention instead of repair and rework.
And Courtney, same to you. What's unique about this forum compared to other events that are options?
The synergy of everyone coming together and bringing in, having AMP being an association, especially seeing the association panel coming all together and saying, hey, how are we all working together? How are we all supporting? And how could we all connect? Hampton Roads is a wonderful home, especially I've been here my whole life. It's all I've ever known. Granddaddy brought heat exchangers to the Navy after World War II and said, hey, we won the war, but we barely won the war. And we really would have won the war better if we had had faster ships, and we need to create heat exchangers. And Granddaddy said, either you go put on a uniform or figure out how to do things better for our community and our country. And that's what's been instilled in me. And so from being in this industry my whole life and my family being here, seeing this organization bring small businesses with the Navy and having that high level support, you don't see that easily without a very expensive price tag and having to go far. But now you're bringing everyone together in the epicenter of the Maritime shipyard with Newport News shipyard and all the major shipyards here and Norfolk Naval Base and everything we have going on. And the class of speakers here really is diverse that allows people to really see what industry is doing. What is the market doing? Let's understand what are we going to learn from Admiral Hawk and understand how's that look now that an admiral is coming down and running this facility in a different way under different orders that were given by Trump last year. So it's very exciting. And again, it encompasses America 250, Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, the waters we're on. It's all there because our maritime community and our Navy was built by the shipyards here in Virginia. And then that was there before we were America. So it's a lot of symbolic and it's exciting in Hampton Roads to see everyone coming together and celebrating. Like what Matt said, we got to talk about it. My little thing is telling everyone it's not just paint. And I think so many people are like, oh, it's just paint. You get it at Sherwin-Williams. No, it's more than that. And you start breaking it down and just saying the bridge you go over, the water you drink, it came through a pipe that had to be coated, the fuel and people don't realize it. And so it's great to see this excitement coming with this Maritime Forum and really kicking off this year because it's been very unsteady and concerning and a lot of confusion. I think the panel that Jennifer and the team have put together, these 2 days are going to bring so much information and bring the right people and allow the contractors to ask the questions, and especially with so many of those contractors being right here in Hampton Roads. So I'm very excited. So
I'm glad you mentioned learning because I think that's a huge part of what's going to happen over these 2 days in Virginia Beach. And Jennifer, I'll bring in you on this point as well. I'm curious what conversations you want to have and what are you wanting to see and hear? I mean, this question goes for all three of you, but I want to include Jennifer as well because at AMP, we're only as good as the knowledge we have about the industry. To serve the industry, we need to understand the industry. So we need to be talking to these folks. We need to be learning. So when we get to Virginia Beach, what are you hoping to see, hear, and learn about? Jennifer, we can start with you.
My number one thing is process efficiencies is what I'm looking for. What new technology can we adopt and how can we work with the Navy to introduce those adoption of this technology and work with the suppliers and the painting contractors to show them that there could be a more efficient way to do things to get a different result as we try to compete in defense and commercial shipbuilding in the United States. So I'm hoping to hear a lot about technology and how can we actually adopt it because new technology without the adoption is not going to get us there.
And Matt, same to you. What are you wanting to learn about when we get out to Virginia Beach?
Just real operational feedback, where corrosion is still eating away at the budgets and the manpower, which areas of the ships are most labor intensive, how environmental constraints, VOC limits are impacting the maintainers, and what quick win solutions do they wish existed, We're interested in conversations about qualification pathways, adoption cycles, and how, accelerating getting effective materials from prototype to shipboard use. If there's barriers, whether it's technical, bureaucratic, cultural, just want to understand.
And Courtney, we can circle back to you. You mentioned wanting to learn. More specifically, what are you wanting to learn about?
on to see now that we have had a few months of what it felt like was a shakeup last year with the new administration and everything being pushed. Now everyone's going out and excited to learn, okay, what's the action plan? What's the plan now? Because we don't have time to talk anymore. And I think this is going to be that launch pad to say, here's the plan and here we're going to learn from each other, but let's break down the rest of the barriers. But I don't think we're at a starting point now. I feel like this is where we're running. We're in the marathon. This is a great launch pad for us to really take that plan of action of how are we going to do things.
Matt and Courtney, you're both subject matter experts from my perspective. So while we've got you here, I want to pick your brain a little bit about what you're seeing out in the field. It's a new year. There's new opportunities. There's new challenges. So in January of 2026 and heading into February, what are some of the primary market drivers that you see within maritime coatings? Matt, we can start with you.
So, as we've already kind of talked about, just the readiness pressure. That's one of the big things that we've been seeing, from the top down is we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready to fight tonight. And corrosion, as we all know, is going to plague that, what we're trying to get after. And just that the Navy, they're continuing to push for readiness, and corrosion is obviously one of the top drivers, and unplanned maintenance. And that reduces anything that reduces man hours and complexity is gaining traction. As far as some of the labor constraints, shipyards nationwide, they're struggling with workforce shortages, and just that creates needful materials that are easier to apply. Anything that's going to require less surface prep, that's going to cure faster. Areas like that, those are two big things that align with Abdec's product strengths. Similar thing goes into environmental and safety standards. I mean, that's a big challenge that everyone faces. I know that in the aerospace world, there are a lot of them are going to non-chromated coatings, and dealing with things that are less carcinogens and lower VOCs, and just worker safe, environmentally responsible solutions. It's especially in an enclosed workspace, which a lot of times you're dealing with in maritime. And then cross-domain technology transfer. So the maritime community is more open than ever to adopting technologies that originated in aerospace or energy, and I feel like that's a major opportunity for Abdec.
Courtney, I think you're potentially a very valuable resource here because you've got your day job, so to speak, and you're also chapter chair for AMP Mid-Atlantic. In terms of industry trends heading into this event, what are you seeing early this year?
Definitely seeing the answer to where, like what Matt was discussing, of we're having that labor shortage. Okay, what do we replace that with? What do we do? Where can we put the labor that we do have in places that new technology, AI, robotic, any of that can't go? Where can we put those field laborers and skill them up to allow them to go in those areas? And how do we adopt these technologies? Because it does get frustrating for industries that want to come into this area and want to help support, that have been supporting other branches of the military or aerospace and different technologies. They want to bring it in, and there's so many cross barriers and so many issues. And why do we have to have those issues? We're all on the Department of War team to support one team here. So I think it's getting that crossover and quickly saying, hey, it might not be the NAVSEA 2-year study, but hey, we have all these other reports. Let's quickly adopt this in, and let's start figuring out ways to not keep holding it up, because I think everyone will say, we get in our own way, whether it's the industry or the Navy. We all get in our own way and look at what's not working, but we don't have time for that. And this event's really going to help us bring that. And we have a lot of companies coming in and contractors that are saying, hey, we're doing it like this. How can we help? So I think the industry and the Navy is going to see we have the support here, and let's bring these small businesses and these technologies and quickly adopt them. But Matt, you pretty much covered everything that I was going to say about this whole thing, whether it's the small business technologies coming in, but it's really just getting everyone together and putting that out there, adopting. What are the hurdles? And let's talk about, we have very strong people there. This isn't a forum that I feel that sometimes you go and you talk and you're like, okay, that was good. Now what do we do with it? I think this is really going to put that action, that playbook and plan, and say, okay, let's go and do this. And here's how we can all be a part of this and get the industry and the advocacy behind it and everyone excited of what we need to do. We have great workforce panel support here too in Hampton Roads, and with the Workforce Council, the Hampton Roads Alliance, and the Maritime Industrial Base that can also help other people who are not in the area of Virginia Beach and be able to say, hey, how we did in Hampton Roads, how can we do it in other areas? And what are other areas doing that we can do it better in Hampton Roads, and understand, hey, this federally funded program works in Hampton Roads. How we get it funded and worked in California or Kansas or wherever anybody wants to be a part of the solution. Let's talk about what we've done and share our best practices so we can all get behind and help our workforce get the technology, get the R&D done, and get the advocacy for the industry.
Yeah, I was going to add one thing real quick, just to tie into the workforce development. Just to plug that there is a panel that will be here specifically about workforce development for the event next week. And I'm excited to hear them talk about current challenges and creative solutions to attract and retain skilled workers. So we'll have New Horizons Regional Education Center there, Hampton Roads Workforce Council, Old Dominion, and then also our Director of Talent Force, which is part of AMP, and Jennifer Rogers, it's in the Education Department, our Senior Director. But one of the things is I want to bring visibility to some of the things that are happening in the area, because I still don't know if our current membership understands what people like the Mid-Atlantic chapter, the sponsors of this event or AMP ourselves have been doing. And one of them is that the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, we submitted courses to them and they approve them, which means that individuals within the region can take AMP training and get it paid for. This is being funded by the Maritime Industrial Build. So we want to get that out so that they know that we are here to help them. We don't just create industry consensus standards or get our products specified. We're doing things to help the contractor directly meet the needs of doing more ship build and ship repair in the United States.
A big part of any event like this is making connections. So, Matt and Courtney, I'm curious from your perspective, what some of the recent developments within your business, your organizations are that you're excited to share. When you talk to people at the event, what's new for you in 2026 that you can sort of use to promote your own business or your own organization? Matt, we can start with you.
As far as for new for ABDEC, a couple of things that we're working on, and again, this comes from just listening to people's needs. And two of the high drivers that we've been, the highest requests that we've had are conductive sealants and high temp sealants. So we're developing. Those are two things that our R&D team, our engineering team are working on to meet those needs, because one of the things that's being asked for most. We're also leaning into some of our strengths, which is EMI and electrical bonding. In doing so, not only the sealants, but our gaskets already are doing that in the aerospace and and maritime. And I know that one of the things that leadership has talked about is running rust on ships, and coatings are one side of it. But as far as gaskets and anything that's under antennas that's going to require a bond, even anything that's top surface mounted. If we could do gaskets with some sealants around those and better create that full environmental protection, that's ultimately going to solve the running rust as well, while maintaining a better electrical bond moving forward. The other thing is just rapid install of encapsulation systems. That's going to cut down on surface prep, dramatically reduce rework time, and those two areas that the fleet consistently eats up manpower, and just growing partnerships with naval engineering activities, shipyards, to validate these materials in real operational environments. We spent years listening and learning from the maritime community, and we're finally at the point where our technology's, directly mapping to their hardest problems.
And Courtney, same question to you. I know it's a little bit different because you wear a few different hats, but with regards to the businesses and the entities that you work with and represent, what's new early in 2026 that you can offer?
This event is what's new because it allows me to bring everyone together that I work with on a consistent basis. Being Maritime Executive Advisor to the Hampton Roads Workforce Council and the Hampton Roads Alliance, and then being able to bring contractors that I work with, that robotics engineering programs and everyone together. This is a lot of fun for me and exciting to bring everyone that's in the hometown and show like, hey, this is what we're doing, to then allow it to grow and be, again, that launch pad of what's coming, all the events, sea airspace, everything that's coming out. Honestly, it's a dream come true. And Jennifer and her team have just done so amazing to bring such amazing awareness from AMP and working together. And it's been years coming of work through COVID and SSPC into AMP, this transition and getting everyone behind Blast and Paint, and seeing just the excitement. The Workforce Council, their annual report, the front cover has a blaster on it, and it's like, yes, we've done it. And we got Build Submarines last year, put Blast and Paint as a career path, and we're like, okay, we've got everyone behind it. So this is exciting for me, is to have everyone here and be able to say, hey, this is how we do in Hampton Roads and work with AMP. Let's go replicate that and turn it into a program that is turnkey. We're already working with the Gulf Coast and also in those shipyards. We're working with Jacksonville, but let's really take that. So that's what I'm really working on for my personal business growth, is like, hey, this is what I was able to do in Hampton Roads. How can we do it in other areas for my companies now and then the other companies to come?
And Matt, I want to follow up on that with you. From your perspective, as someone that works out in the industry, what can we do with an event like this at an association level that an individual company or business can't do on their own? Just speak to, and Courtney already has from her perspective, but just speak to the importance of working at an industry level and through AMP as opposed to just at an individual company level. How important is that And how does this event potentially fit into that mission?
Training and education is where I see that it's most beneficial because, for instance, when I go out and train someone on, product installation or how they can better do, surface preparation, whatever the case may be, I'm talking to a group of, 4 or 5 individuals when we're doing this. And which is great because that hands-on in person it's hard to replace. And that's where you get, a lot of the largest benefit. But with AMP, they've got a stage for such a larger audience, and they're able to get through what we're talking to 4 or 5 people at a time about, and they're able to spread that to the masses. I feel like there's a lot of times where in industry we've got people that they're facing similar challenges, but there's no collaboration between the 2 entities to actually, come together to help solve these problems. I've dealt with it in the past where if you've got 2 people that sit 2 cubicles over from each other that are working on the same problem and don't know about it until you overhear a conversation that they're on a meeting and you're going, "Hey man, I've been working on this for 6 months. Why are we working parallel efforts when we can combine and we can try to, fight this together and our powers combined, we're going to be able to get things accomplished a lot faster." So just the collaboration piece, I feel like is, just education and training, I feel like is what's the most beneficial.
Absolutely. Before we close out, Jennifer, I want to go back to you. Registration is open now. You can learn more about the forum if you just go to the events page at amp.org, ampp.org. Jennifer, just bring us home. For anyone listening that's on the fence, that's considering maybe going, for someone who is already committed to going, but maybe not sure what to expect, what are your expectations for next week? Why is this going to be such a big event for AMP?
Well, we're already at about 150 people. I think we max out at 200. So I'd love to see the last 50 come in over the next few days. Again, it's free for the asset owners and for the painting contractors. We plan to bring this to other maritime prosperity zones in 2027. So just looking for this to be not just a possible forum, but a successful one. And just grateful to everyone who has been part of it. The excitement is just through the roof on all these planning calls. I wish we could be recording those ones, Ben, and you were pulling snippets from it because I had to stop people like, wait, do the collaboration at the event in person. Let's not do this on the call. But people just can't hold back. I can sense their excitement, and I just can't wait for next week to come.
Matt, Jennifer, Courtney, thank you all so much for the time.
See you next week.
On behalf of AMP, I'm Ben Dubose. If you want more resources from us or our publications within the association, just visit amp.org, coatingsformag.com, or materialsperformance.com. I mentioned the events page at amp.org has the information on this forum as well as other events within the association, most notably the annual conference and expo in Houston in March. All of that, just go to amp.org and the events page, and you can find out everything you want to know. You can also check out our social media pages on basically every major outlet. Just search for AMP. Same goes for podcast platforms. Just search for AMP, search for Coatings Pro, and you can get all of these episodes as soon as they come out. If you've not already subscribed and left a positive review, please do. All right, the plugs are now complete. As always, we appreciate you all so much for listening, and please come back soon for more new episodes.